All right. Next one comes in from Discord. A little conversation about Vladdy and the definition
Yes.
of being a clutch hitter. So
Hmm.
Rezi in our Discord. Discord, by the way, free to join, always free. Pushing 200 people in that community now. So lots of stuff getting shared. Good sorts of memes, highlights, interviews from different guys, clips on Sportsnet, all that stuff. A lot of good game day chat. But Rezi, talking about Vladdy, has a 977 OPS in high leverage situations last time I checked. And then Forbesy Jr. responds with, in my opinion, clutch isn't something really quantifiable by stats. It's more of a feel. Sometimes clutch is knocking the go ahead run. Sometimes it's a 2 out single to start a rally. Thoughts?
I mean, both of them nail it. Vladdy has been fairly clutch statistically, but also how the heck do you measure that? Clutch can come in so many different moments within a game. Clutch can be measured in so many different aspects. I mean, there's guys who are defensively clutch who just all of a sudden at come the seventh inning, you're not going to see them make an error. You're just not. Clutch can be just like Forbesy Jr. said, 2 outs, bottom of the eighth, and then a guy hits a single to start a rally. I think clutch is one of those words that truly is a feeling.
Yeah, it's a
I
vibe for
know their
sure.
I know their stats, right? You can always go and who's getting the most hits, seventh inning plus, which is what they're doing, right? That's what the clutch stats are as they look at the end
Yeah,
of the game.
runners
And
in scoring position
exactly.
after the whatever inning. What is their average? What is their OPS? Yes.
And there are guys who are big game players. George Springer is a perfect example of that. It seems whenever things are really on the line and the Jays need a guy to step up more than anything, he's the guy. Right? We watched him do it after coming off of injury while the Jays were scuffling. He comes in and became the hottest dude on the Jays for like 7 games, despite the fact that every move he made with his elbow, he was flinching and grimacing, and you could tell he was in pain, but he just has that next gear. But you watch Springer in the outfield, there's only one gear. So there are just guys like that, right? That it's 100% or it's nothing.
I was watching a broadcast a couple weeks ago, and I believe Vladdy was on third base, and there was no outs. Kirk came to the plate, and there was an interesting stat. Don't quote me on this, but it was something along the lines of Alejandro Kirk was hitting like 511 or something along those lines of being able to get the runner from third home this season when there's a runner on third and less than 2 outs.
Incredible.
Like that is big time number. So I think that's more than just his average because that would have been also like sack flies and stuff like this. Um, but it's the
Hey,
highest on the team.
if you can cash in a runner from third more than 50% of the time, that is about as good as it gets.
Big time. So that got me wondering. Let's say we're in the ALDS against the New York Yankees, and it is the ninth inning, tie ball game. We have a runner on third and nobody out. Is Alejandro Kirk the guy you want, or do you still want Vladdy to be that guy? Or Bo? Who's your guy?
That's a great question. I guess my
Because like
guy's George.
statistically, the odds are, statistically, Kirk is, on the back of the baseball card, the best guy to have in that situation, other than, high leverage situation, I don't think was taken into account there, right? And it doesn't get
You
higher
know what?
leverage than that.
I would go with Kirk if this is game 143. Like if this is today's game, I go with Kirk. I'm fine with that. End of the season, the Jays are pretty much guaranteed a playoff spot. It's all about where they land in the wild card rankings at this point. Yeah, I'm fine with Alejandro Kirk. Now, if this is game 7 of the World Series, I want George Springer.
George Springer's your guy, hey? Oh,
He's been there before. World Series MVP. he has playoff numbers that are just completely off the chart. He's like one of the guys with a lot of playoff experience that his playoff numbers are even better than his regular season numbers. Yeah, I think I want George Springer in the most high leverage of situations you can possibly come up with a game on the line, championship on the line. You want your $150 million guy to be that guy, and I think he is. Nothing against Alejandro Kirk, 23-year-old with a year and a half of MLB experience. I love the man. I think he's actually proved that he's probably our starting catcher come 2023, barring...
Ooh, okay, let's have that talk. Scott. Alejandro Kirk, starting catcher 2023.
He has changed my mind, man. It's not that I was ever a detractor. I just felt like he truly was the most likely candidate to be moved for a lot of reasons. The DH aspect of his game, how much time he needs, like how good he is at the plate and that he can't play every day. But I think we'll see what happens. But I think come the offseason, I think he's going to shed a few more pounds. I think he's going to be focused on being that number one guy. Even if it's a split, even if Danny and him can play 3 games a week each as the starting catcher. And I think Alejandro Kirk can do that.
So then we're moving on from Moreno.
That would be...
You think Moreno's part of a package to bring back like a big pitcher or something?
I don't know what this organization is going to do. If you're just asking me what I would do...
Yeah, I don't want to get into what do you think the organization is going to do. What would you like to see them do?
I mean... prospects are never a guarantee, man. Alejandro Kirk went from a prospect to a top 2 catcher in baseball this year when it comes to offensive output.
All right, let's talk offensive output then, because here's some numbers that caught my eye. Alejandro Kirk, we're going to compare him with Danny Jansen. Danny Jansen, 2 days ago, just his 13th home run of the year. Alejandro Kirk also has 13 home runs this year. Danny Jansen has done it in a little less than half as many games. Obviously, he had the injuries early in this season. Spent some time on the IL. So with about 40% as many at-bats, it's like 425 to 175 is the numbers, just for anybody who's really curious. But Danny Jansen has just as many home runs. Kirk has a slugging percentage of 432. Danny Jansen has a slugging percentage over 500. Kirk has an OPS of 811. Danny Jansen has an OPS of 831. So give me some pushback here. Talk me out of Danny Jansen's the best offensive catcher on this team, because I would say he's still the best defensive catcher on this team. But talk me out of that.
I think
small sample size?
No, I think batting average matters. Alejandro Kirk is going to come up with more hits. I love the idea of them platooning and both being the starting catchers and playing almost an equal amount of time behind the plate. And I think Alejandro Kirk has it within him to step up how much he's behind the plate, you know, because we're seeing him probably, 2 times a week? I think he can go to 3.
Okay.
His body's held together so far. I mean, he's got that hip injury, but, like, this is the thing. Every single player on this team has something going on with them right now.
So you just value more, like, the volume of singles,
like,
from Alejandro Kirk.
We've talked about this, man. I love Danny Jansen. I think Jano is fantastic. I wish him to go nowhere. I love the game he calls. I love the amount of confidence that he instills in his pitchers and how much his pitchers really want to make things work and just seem to be on that right wavelength together when he's calling a game. Behind the plate, he's been good. Alejandro Kirk has thrown out more base stealers this year. I am not putting Danny down at all when I say this. I just think Alejandro Kirk has proven himself as...
Hey, these are 2 great options at catcher.
Yes. And you know what? Danny has proven that he can put up big power numbers in a small sample size. That's great. That's who you want as your secondary catcher, right? A guy who can come off the bench and hit one out.
I love it. Hey, look, for me, if Alejandro Kirk can catch more often next year, whether that's weight loss, whether that's not weight loss, but just better conditioning or a better yoga routine, I don't care what it is. But
whatever it is.
We need him to free up that DH spot more because Springer's going to play there more next year. We still need to use it as those half days off for guys like Vladdy, guys like everybody else. So if he can do that, sounds good. And then let's flip Moreno into the best starting pitcher package we can do. And then I think we have the best catching tandem in all of baseball.
This kills me, by the way. Like, this decision, I'm so glad that I'm not at the helm of the Blue Jays. I'm sure a lot of people listening are also very thrilled about that. We get a comment like that once a week.
At least once a week,
like, thank God you guys aren't running the show. Yeah, well, there's a reason we're not. We're just a couple
boneheads.
Just giving our opinion here. Yeah, I mean, I think Gabriel Moreno has all the potential in the world. But, I mean, we have watched it time and time again. I mean, maybe I'm just a little snake bit after Nate Pearson, but man, until you can come up and prove that you're the guy, like Alejandro Kirk has proved he's the guy, it's still a question mark, right? There's no guarantee.
Last question to throw your way on Alejandro Kirk. If there's regression next year, just in your gut, would you rather, let's say he hits like 235 next year, 5 home runs, just like not good. Would you rather, like, what's an easier pill to swallow? I should phrase it as this: a situation where we sell high on Alejandro Kirk, we get a decent return on him in trade, but then next year he's just as good, if not better. Maybe he takes a step forward, right? Maybe it's like Gold Glove catcher or Silver Slugger or something, right? But he's an all-star again. He's hitting 300. And not that our trade didn't work out. The pitchers we got back are still a good haul. But we sold high, and then the stock continued to rise on Alejandro Kirk's career. Is that harder to swallow, or is it harder to swallow that we don't move on Alejandro Kirk and he has a major regression next year? And now we're sitting on a guy that we can't recoup any value on.
I mean, obviously the secondary one is the worst case scenario, that they choose wrong. Well, they stick with Kirk and trade Moreno, and then
they choose wrong in both situations. Scott is the point, but which one stings more?
It stings more the regression of Kirk. I think if you move him and he continues to progress, but you're happy with your return, I mean, does it suck?
I suppose that's an unfair asterisk to say that we're happy with our return, because we could have traded for Frankie Montas, right?
Yeah.
So there's no guaranteed deals. Jose Barrios hasn't exactly been a shining return on.
We could have traded for Luis Castillo too, so that there's both sides.
Yep. Okay, well, that's something we'll just end that topic on then, unless you have anything else you want to add on that. We'll move on from there.